Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I like to make my crochet collars. To complete this project, you will want to know how to make a single crochet, a half double crochet, slip stitch, chain, and magic circle. I really didn't want to spend too much time trying to teach you how to do these stitches because they're pretty basic. I really wanted to spend more of my time showing you what you can do with these stitches to get some unique patterns. So if you need help with any of these stitches, you might want to check out the playlist in the description. But if you're ready to go, then to make my collar, I used 5 different colors. And in the next section of this video, I will have color combinations that I think could be really pretty to use for your collar. So if you want some inspiration there, go ahead and check out that section, or you can skip it and use the timestamps below to get straight into the tutorial. Now, lastly, I just want to say, please do not worry about following all the steps I do verbatim. Just feel it out and have fun. Please do not take this too seriously. We are not aiming for perfection. This piece was something I made by mistake, and it just resulted in something cool. So please remember to just have fun. If you have any questions, ask in the comments. I'll try to answer them all. And as always, feel free to share pictures with me of your collars on Instagram. I would love to see them. But now let's go ahead and get into this tutorial. For this project, I recommend that you use 5 different yarn colors to get the most variety and va-va-voom out of your project. I do say have at least 3 of your 5 colors be like a regular, like weight 4 or 5, whatever kind of yarn. And then the last 1 to 2 colors can be a crochet thread, just because they're really good for color mixing. And you don't want your work to end up like really thick or anything like that. So I mean, you don't have to use it, but I recommend using crochet thread instead of just regular colors, especially if you're going to combine them, because I don't know if y'all are familiar with that sugar and cream yarn, but shorty thick, okay? And it can be a bit much and make your work too chunky. So that's that. I also had a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a darning needle. And that should be all you need for this project. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Alright, so first I'm going to show you an example of how you can go about making your front panel. I am going to start off with a magic circle, and I apologize, I know I'm using black, but better for me to use it for the first step because it's not that complicated. But you're going to go ahead and make a magic circle, and then you're going to want to chain 3. But this first little chain that we did to create the magic circle is going to count as our first chain. So really you're only chaining 2. And then we're going to start doing our granny square. So from here, we're going to do 2 double crochets into our magic circle. So that's 1 and 2. And now what we're going to do is make 3 more clusters of these, basically 3 double crochets. So chain 2, and then do another set of 3 double crochets in your magic circle. Okay, that's our second one. Then chain 2. Do another set of 3 double crochets into your magic circle. That's 3. Need 1 more cluster of 3 double crochets, so chain 2 and then do 3 more. Okay, so now we have our 4 clusters of our 3 double crochets, and to end off this round, we're going to once again chain 2, then pull the tail end of your magic circle to close off this round,
And then you're going to slip stitch into the top of that initial chain 3 that we had to start off this round. Once you have that, you're going to chain 1 and then cut your yarn. That is the end of round 1, and I'm sorry again that I'm using black, but I'm going to be doing a color change so it'll be easier to see from here on out for the most part. But this is what round 1 looks like. So then we're going to go ahead and take whatever your second color is. For me, second color wise, I think I'm actually going to mix 2 colors together. So I have my thinner like crochet thread. That's this like very deep red kind of auburny, I don't know what you want to call it. And then this brown, I'm just gonna mix the 2 together. You can mix colors, you can leave it solid, you know, choice is yours, but I'm trying to use up some of my extra yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reattach this yarn into one of my 4 chain 2 corners. It does not matter which one you start off in, but you're going to attach your yarn in there, make sure it's nice and secured. Then you're going to chain 3. And now this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to do 2 double crochets into this chain 2 space. And then we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to do 3 more double crochets into the same chain 2 space. So basically so far we're just doing like a regular granny square. Now that corner is officially done, so I'm going to move over to this next corner by doing 3 double crochets into the chain 2 space. Then I'm going to chain 2 and put 3 more double crochets into the same chain 2 space. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and just keep repeating this pattern for my 2 remaining sides, and I'll go ahead and meet you guys once I make it back to where I started off this round. Okay, I just finished with my last corner, so to end off this round, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of my chain 3. Then I'm going to chain 1, and then I will cut this yarn and then we'll bring out our next color. All right, for our third round, you're gonna once again grab your new color, make a slip knot, and attach your new color into one of your spaces. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go ahead and start in this corner here and attach my yarn. I'm gonna work up my regular granny square a little bit more, so I'm going to repeat the same thing that I did for the previous round, except this time we have a little space in between our 2 corner spaces that we're going to be doing. So I'll start off with a chain of 3. Then I'm going to do 2 double crochets into my chain space here. Then I'll chain 2 and do 3 double crochets into the same chain space. Okay, so first corner is done. Now, like I mentioned, we aren't solely working with corners. We also have this little space here that we have to do something with. So we are going to put 3 double crochets into the center space. And then that's that. And then we're going to move over to our next stitch, which is, or excuse me, our next space, which is the chain 2 corner space. So we're going to do our 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then do 3 more double crochets in the same chain space. And then one more time, the space after that is the one that sits in between our 2 corners right here. So I'm just going to put 3 double crochets into this center space here. And you can make your granny square as big as you want, and depending on how big you make it, these center spaces will, grow larger in number. I said that weird. And they'll grow larger in number. So you will just put 3 double crochets into all of your center spaces. You only do the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet at the corners because you want to keep it square looking. But I'm going to go ahead and continue to work up this pattern until I get back to my start. Okay, I'm at the end of this round. So once again, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my initial chain 3 of this round, then chain 1, and then I will cut my yarn. And that's the end of that round. Okay, so I'm going to do one more round of my granny stitch, and then I'll show you guys how to switch it up. So I'm taking my new color once again. I'm going to attach it in one of my 4 corners. I'm chaining 3, and then this chain 3 counts as my first double crochet. I'm doing 2 double crochets into that same corner space. Then I'm going to chain 2. And then do 3 more double crochets. That's the end of that corner. And then, like I mentioned from the previous row, this time we have 2 center spaces before we get to our next corner. So in each of these 2 center spaces, I'm going to put 3 double crochets into each. So first one, 3 double crochets. Second one, 3 double crochets. Right, and then I'm at my second corner, so 3 double crochets. Chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets. Okay, so 2 of my 4 corners are done now. I'm going to go ahead and keep repeating this. I'll meet you guys once I get back to the starting point from this round. Alright, so I'm at the end of this round, and I'm going to finish off by once again slip stitching into the top of the chain 3 that started off this round. Then I chain 1 and cutting my yarn. So you can make your granny square as big or as small as you want. It's really just like a preference thing. I recommend that you play around with it. I really like it when my squares for my 2 front panels don't match. I kind of like the mix match effect. So on the panel I did before this one, you can see I only did 2 rounds of the granny stitch, and then I went into just like regular single and double crochets around after that, and I will show you guys how I do that next on this square here. Once you have your granny square as big or as small as you want it to be, you're going to go ahead and grab your next color, or you can keep working with the same color that you have been. I'm going to switch my color. I'm going to go back to this white, and I'm going to attach my yarn into a corner. And everything from here on out will be like freehand. You don't have to do it exactly how I'm doing it. I just want to make sure that I show you guys some examples of how you can go about making your granny squares. Okay, so I've attached my new color into one of my 4 corners, and I'm going to chain 3. And now instead what I'm going to do in this corner space is I'm going to do 1 double crochet. Then I'm going to chain 2, And then I'm going to do 2 double crochets into the corner space. And that is how I'm going to do my corners for this round. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way down each of the stitches along my side until I get back to my corner. So starting off in the very first stitch here, I'm going to put 1 double crochet in there, and then 1 in every stitch down my side. Okay, so I have 1 double crochet in every stitch along this row. And as you guys kind of like freehand and do your own thing, if you struggle with making sure you have the same amount of double crochets along each side, what you can do is just count up how many of the stitches you had in the previous row. So here we had 3, 3, 3, 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12. So I know, not including these 4 double crochets right here that I did in the actual corner space, you know, in those chains in between it, I should be able to go back and count 12 of these. And it should be the same for all of your sides. And then when you go into your next round, you know, you will add to whatever this number was across, then add in how many you did on your corners. So I had 12 for this row. Next row I will have, so 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'll have 16 because I'm gaining 4 on each side because I'm doing 2 double crochets. Or, well, I'm doing 4 double crochets in my square, but 2 of them will go to each side. So hopefully that makes sense now. If it doesn't, it should make sense as you build up your square here, but let's just keep going. So I'm at my next corner. So once again, I am going to put 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space. Then I'm going to chain 2, and then I'll do 2 more double crochets into the same chain 2 space. And then, like I just mentioned, I have 12 double crochets on this side. So along this side, I should be doing 12 double crochets before I get to my next chain 2 space. So I'm going to keep working this up until I get back to where I started, and I'll meet you guys at the end of this round. Okay, so I'm at the end of this round, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3. Then I'm going to chain 1 and cut my yarn. So this is what my front panel is looking like so far. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to add in a color, but you know, to make it more interesting, I'm not going to work in a complete round. I'm only going to do like half, so just like these 3 points from here to here. And I am switching up my color yet again. So I'm taking my new color, making a slip knot. Then I'm going to attach my yarn into this corner here. Okay, now you can continue to do these like full rounds in a double crochet stitch or in a single crochet. You know, choice is yours. Play around with it, see what you end up liking. But I just want to show you another variation of a way that you can go about, you know, doing all these rounds. So for this next, not even a full round because we're going to switch it up a little bit and do half. But in this corner, I'm going to do a single crochet. Then I'm going to just do 1 single crochet along this row here. So in every single stitch across, 1 single crochet. And as you do this, you could do this as a double crochet, you could do it as a single crochet like me, or you could do it as a half double crochet. You know, you got a lot of options here. You don't have to like stick with exactly what I'm doing. You do have some range. Okay, so I've made it to my first corner, so I have 1 single crochet across my row. Now for this corner here, I'm going to do 2 single crochets into the chain 2 space. Then I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do 2 more single crochets into the same chain 2 space. That is my second corner, and I'm now going to go ahead and do 1 single crochet across this row, and then I'll end off in this corner here. So 1 single crochet down the line, and I'll meet you guys once I get there. I did 1 single crochet along this side, and I'm at my last corner. Now, just like how in this first corner here, we only did 1 single crochet because we're not trying to necessarily keep it like square or anything like that, because we're not going all the way around. I'm only going to do 1 single crochet into this corner space here. Then I'm going to chain 1 and cut my yarn. So I'm going to do the same thing I just did for this side or this portion again, but I'm going to change my color and I'm going to do it in double crochets instead of single crochets this time. Sorry y'all, I'm going to bring back the black, but hopefully you'll still be able to follow along, okay? And starting in the very first single crochet, I'm going to attach my yarn into that stitch. And because I'm doing double crochets, I'm going to go ahead and make this a chain of 3, and that will just count as my first double crochet for this row. So that is my first stitch. Then I'm going to go ahead and just do 1 single crochet all the way across until I get to my corner space over here. Okay, so now I have 1 more stitch before I get to my chain 2 corner space, which it might be kind of hard to see just because of the difference in the yarn, but there it is right there. So I put 1 double crochet all along this side, and now in the corner space, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, oops, kind of messed up my yarn there. I'm gonna do, I'll do 2 double crochets, then chain 2, and then do 2 more double crochets into this chain 2 space. And you can switch it up a little bit. You can do just 1 double crochet, then chain 2, and then just 1 more double crochet. Play around with it, see what you like. But that's how I'm going to do that corner. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue with doing just 1 double crochet till I get to the end of this row here. All right, so I made it to the end of that row, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab this thinner thread yarn here, and I'm going to attach it onto my work for this next round. Once again, I'm still only gonna be working off of this portion of my project, and I'm just gonna mix these two. I wanna mix the black with this. I think it will, I don't know, I think it'll look kind of cool together. So from here, since I'm not going to change my color, I just added my new yarn on here, and I'm going to chain 3, and this will count as the first double crochet for this next round. I'm going to turn my work, and once again, I'm going to do 1 double crochet all the way across this row till I get to my corner space. So I will meet you guys there. Okay, I'm putting my last double crochet in the stitch right before my chain 2 space. So now in the chain 2 space, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 double crochets. Then I'm going to chain 2 and then put 2 more double crochets into the same corner space. And then as usual from here, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 double crochet in every stitch along this row till I get to this side corner, whatever you want to call it, just till I get to this end. So I'll meet you guys once I get there. All right, I am at my last stitch here, and please just be mindful that when you chain 3 and turn your work and then use that chain 3 as your very first double crochet of the next round, you are going to have to go into the top of that chain 3 to do your last stitch for that round. So don't forget about that one, or else your work will be like slanted. You'll be missing stitches. So this is what my work looks like so far, and lucky you guys, I am going to not use the black again. So I'm going to chain 1 and cut off this yarn and then grab a new color. So now, once again, I'm going to take this new color and I'm going to attach it into the corner of, well, it could be any corner, it doesn't really matter. But now I'm going to show you how you can bring this color in and work it back into your full like square instead of just doing half of your square. So I'm gonna start here in this corner to make it a little bit easier. So attach my yarn there. And what I'm gonna do, I am gonna still do a half double crochet, but in my corner, I'm just gonna do 1 half double crochet, then I'll chain 2, and then I'll do 1 more half double crochet in that corner. Then I'll do 1 half double crochet all across this row. Okay, so I just did 1 half double crochet across this row. Now in this last stitch, we're going to turn this into a corner. So I'm gonna chain 2, and then I'm going to put 1 more half double crochet into this last stitch of this row. I'm going to turn, my work to the next side, and then I'm going to start working my way along this side. Now you will, if you decide to do your project this way, you will have some very clear defined stitches to work into from when you were last doing your work in perfect rounds. But then we have these few rows here where they kind of don't do that. They broke off. And I just say, just try to put a stitch in wherever you can kind of find a space. So here is a double crochet right next to me. So in my double crochet, I will just do 2 half double crochets over top of that to help me turn my corner and keep my work straight. And then again, the next one is another double crochet. So I'll do 2 half double crochets into that. Once you make it back to where your stitches are like actually clearly defined in that row, you can go ahead and keep working your way down, and then I'll meet you guys at your next corner. Okay, so I just made it across this other side with my red, so I'm gonna keep going for my remaining 2 sides, but I'm at my corner, and for this I was doing 2 half double crochets, or did I change it? Nope, I changed it. So I'm doing 1 half double crochet, I'm chaining 2, and then putting another half double crochet in my corner space, and then turning to the next side, put 1 half double crochet along the row. Okay, so I've reached my next spot where I need to recreate a corner again, and this is actually, it happens to sit where I did my first chain 3 of the row. So in the top of my chain 3, I'm going to do my first half double crochet, Then I'm going to chain 1 and then put another half double crochet into that same chain 3 top stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 1 half double crochet along this row, and then I'll get to finally slip stitch to end off this round. So I'm going to go ahead and put each of my half double crochets into each of these stitches along this side, and I will meet you guys when I get to the end of this row. All right, so I have my half double crochet in each of these stitches along this side. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of this half double crochet here that started us off in this round. I'm going to chain 1 and cut my yarn. And so this is what my final square looks like. You can make these bigger. I don't suggest you making them smaller than this. But this is as big as I'm going to make mine. I'm actually going to go ahead and find where I sat my tape measure so you can get dimension wise what this is kind of looking like. But you can make this as big as you want. So once you are satisfied with your first panel and how it looks, you're going to go ahead and repeat this process. You can switch up how you do the stitches, or make an exact copy for the other front panel. Choice is yours, but you're going to make a second panel, and here you can see for my 2 panels, they don't match, they're mismatched, but you want to make sure they end up like kind of being just about the same size. Doesn't have to be exactly the same, we're not going for perfection here, but you do want to make sure they're roughly the same size. So let me go grab a tape measure so I can show you how big my square is, so you guys will have an idea of what you're working with. Okay, so I found my tape measure, and it looks like my square is 7 inches wide on both sides, or what is that, like 18 centimeters. So this is probably big enough if you're a size extra small to small. If you're going to make a medium or a large or anything bigger than that, I do recommend that you make your squares maybe 2 or 3, however many more rows you want, bigger. But to have roughly the same sizing as what I had, if you wear a size extra small, then just 7 inches wide of a square will suffice. So go ahead, play around with making your second square, or continue expanding the size of your first, and then go ahead and make your second. And I'll show you guys how you're going to make your back panel next. Okay, so if you've made both of your front 2 panels, then this is what you should have so far. Just doing a comparison to my completed one. You have your 2 squares minus this little lettuce trim. You don't have that just yet, that's the last step, but you should have these. And now you're going to have to make your back panel. And as you can see, the back panel is just one long row of single crochets, half double crochets, and half double crochets, and then I think this, I don't think this was a treble. I think this was like one more than a treble possibly. But you can do whatever stitch you like, and you can do it in whatever color you like. You just want it to be very long. So now basically to get this back panel, what you're going to have to do is you're going to start off with a chain long enough to reach from one shoulder to the other. So if you need to take your tape measure and measure across how long that'll be for you, you can do so. For mine, that was 17 inches. So I'm going to make my chain 17 inches long. So it doesn't matter like your stitch count for this, it'll be different for everyone. But for my size small, extra small, I'm going to go ahead and just chain up however many of these I need until this is 17 inches long. So I went ahead and I've made my chain that is 17 inches in length, and I think I'm actually just going to do a couple more stitches, or a couple more chains. And now I'm going to go ahead and just work my way across my row however many times I need until I have this 7 inches tall, because that is how wide my square is. So to make sure everything is the same size, we're starting here and we're going to be working our way up. So however many rows I need to do of my single crochets, double crochets, half double crochets, whatever, just until I get up to 7 inches tall is what I'm going to do for the full length of this chain for my back panel. So I think for starters, I think I'll start off by doing half double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, skip the very first stitch or skip the very first chain. And in the second chain, I'll do my half double crochet and just do that all the way down this row. So I'm just going to continue on with these half double crochets until I get to the end of this row. I will show you guys what I do from there. Okay, so I made it across my row doing my half double crochets. So I'm gonna change my color. You don't have to do it this way, but just wanna make sure I show you guys an example of how I go about doing the back. So I cut my yarn, and then let me grab my next color. I'm gonna use this red, and I'm going to reattach my yarn into the corner. So in this very first stitch here, we'll attach our new color. And since I did half double crochets for that row, I will do double crochets. So I'm going to start off with a chain of 3. And now across this row, I'm going to do double crochets. So chain 3 counts as the first double crochet. And I'm just going to continue to double crochet all the way across this row. Okay, so I finished the second row and I've already moved into the third row, and as you can see, I'm switching up the stitch and the color. So now I'm using black yarn and I'm doing single crochets. And as I've mentioned, you're just gonna keep working up some random little stitches and patterns and color combinations until your back piece is as wide as your squares. So I got this much done, still have all of this to do. So I'm gonna keep working up this back piece, and then I will get back with you guys once the back panel is fully done. So keep going and I'll meet you guys once we're through with this. Alrighty, so I finished crocheting my back panel. I have the full length and it is as long as I want it to be, which is the same length as my squares. Now, if you want, you can make your back panel even longer. I just don't want to do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my 2 square front panels onto the back. So I did not cut off my yarn where I ended off at. I'm going to just go ahead and carry on from there because I think I want my scalloped edge to be this white color. I'm going to make sure that my 2 quote unquote good sides are facing together. I'm going to line them up, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into the V's on both of these sides all the way across, and then I'm going to repeat the same thing with my second square on the other side. So both of these will be connected on the side, and then there'll be a gap in the middle. Ooh, sorry, it's kind of hard to see because of the black yarn, but I'm just going in the V stitch of this first panel and then going in the V of the second, and then I'm just pulling through both. And I'm going to do this all the way along the length of this front little panel here. So this is what my panel looks like so far. I have my 2 front panels connected to the back. Sorry, I will
give you a better view of what this looks like, not so close up after we do the next part. So once your yarn is connected, we're going to work our way down the front first, and you're going to start off by putting a single crochet into the very first stitch, or just in the very first spot. There will be some spots, like as you go along the side, where you're going to have to get a little bit more creative when you make your shell stitch, but others you'll have like very defined V stitches you can work your way into. So just go ahead and put a single crochet in the very first stitch or very first space. Then you're going to skip a stitch, or just, here, can you guys see this? I'm sorry, it's black. I'm going to skip this whole first little like side bar from my double crochet, and I'm going to work 5 double crochets into this stitch like right after it. So I have my 5 double crochets. Then I'm going to skip 2 of my stitches here, and in the third stitch I'm going to do a single crochet. And I recommend, as you do this, try to keep your tension a little loose. You don't want this to be too tight. So since I'm working into my clearly defined V stitches, I skipped 2 and I single crocheted. So once again, I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches, and then in the third stitch I'm going to put 5 more double crochets. Okay. So second scallop is done. Once again, skip the next 2 stitches. In the third stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. Skip the next 2 stitches. In the third stitch after that, do 5 double crochets. And then once again, skip the next 2 stitches. In the third stitch, do a single crochet. Okay. And you're basically just going to keep doing, oops, straighten it out a little bit. You're going to keep doing this all the way down till you get to this corner. Then you'll turn and go around up the other side of your first little front flap. Then what's going to end up happening is you will keep going. So you'll, oops, go this way, come around the front, up the side, and down the side of the back. Turn your work. Continue on all the way along the back side of your panel. Turn your work to the other side, and then you'll basically keep going until you end back off in the top corner of your second front panel. Oops. So you'll end off up here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and keep working up this little shell stitch until I get to this corner over here, and then I will show you guys the last step that we're going to do of this project. I finished off with my little scalloping all around the perimeter of my project, and I stopped right here at this corner. No need to do the scallop right here. I mean, you can if you want, but I prefer not to have it there. So all that's left is to make the chain that is going to serve as the tie for the front of your project. So I personally made my little chain 12 inches long, but you can do it as long or as short as you like. You just want to make sure that you obviously have it long enough for you to tie with. So after you've cut off your yarn from, this corner and you're done with your scalloped edge, go ahead and take your yarn one more time, and you're going to reattach it into the corner of one of your, well, each of your front panels, and just go ahead and make a regular chain, however many chains long you need it to be until it's your desired length. Once again, mine is 12 inches long. So I'm going to continue on with my chain, and I'll meet you guys after I'm done making my chain. Alright, so I finished making my chain, I just cut my yarn, and I'm officially done with my project. So at this point, all there is left to do is weave in any ends and cut off any of the loose little strands of thread that you have hanging around on your project. Or honestly, I kind of left some of them on my project because I liked the kind of like messy look to it. So maybe I won't keep all of them, but I will keep a few on this piece. But once you've done that, if you choose to get rid of them, that is all there is to this project. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you were able to follow along and, be creative and come up with your own unique piece. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments for me. If you make one for yourself, definitely tag me in any post that you put up of your stuff on Instagram. I would love to see what yours came out looking like. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys soon with another video.